What if the difference between protecting your legacy or losing it came down to choosing the right type of trust? You're going to understand why in just a second. Today, we're walking through 5 of the most common types of trust. I'm going to break down for you what they do, how they work, and most importantly, how to figure out which one might be right for you or your family. We've helped hundreds of families here in Georgia set up trusts tailored to their needs, and the results: families that avoid probate, protect assets from nursing home costs, and pass down wealth with confidence. I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the estate planning guys. So let's begin with sort of the biggie out there, the one that probably most of you heard of. That's what's called a revocable living trust. And if you've heard about it, this is probably the one that came up first if you've heard anything about estate planning at all, and there's a good reason for it. So let's break down what is a revocable living trust. Well, the first word that that is important there is revocable. And so what that means is you're setting up a trust that you can change or revoke anytime you want to. As long as you still have your marbles and are alive, you can make whatever changes you want to it. So number one, it's revocable. Living means that it's a trust that you set up during your lifetime, and it allows for the control of your assets in a centralized way during your lifetime, hence a living trust. And I think of it as a bucket, and you put all of your assets into the bucket, and initially you're serving in 3 roles in this trust. You're the trustee, so you're in charge of everything. You can take assets out, you can put new assets in, whatever you want to do. You can change the beneficiaries, you can dissolve the trust, whatever you want to do. And then let me explain why it's such a game changer. If you pass away, then the trust, the bucket, allows your assets to be distributed privately to your family or whoever you want to without having to go through probate. And that's huge because probate can take anywhere from 6 months to years or even longer. And it's a public process. It can be very expensive, understandably. And in some cases, it delays families from accessing money that they really need. So we had one client, is father of 3 kids, and he thought, well, a simple will is enough for me. I don't need a trust. I'm not fancy. And when he passed away, his kids had to wait over a year to access the inheritance that he left for them. A revocable trust would have prevented all that. They would have had immediate access to those assets. So if your goal is to make your life easier, for your loved ones, and to avoid court delays and the added stress of going through probate, a revocable trust is one of the best tools available to accomplish that. Now, let's pivot and talk about irrevocable trust. And yeah, that name sounds intimidating because it basically implies that whatever you do is set in stone. And while that is true in some instances, there are ways that you can make changes to an irrevocable trust. Generally, when you set up an irrevocable trust, you're going to place assets into the trust, and then you can't make any major changes without some sort of approval process, maybe even going through a court. So why would anybody want to do this? Well, the reason is that an irrevocable trust, it makes the assets that are inside of it no longer considered yours for legal and tax purposes. And that opens the door to some powerful benefits. The first one, obviously, is asset protection. So the assets in that irrevocable trust, because they're not part of your estate anymore, you don't own them anymore, they're protected from creditors and lawsuits and that kind of thing. The second thing is it can result in estate tax reduction for high net worth individuals. And then third, we use it oftentimes for Medicaid eligibility planning because we can take those assets out of your estate and put you in a position where you can qualify for Medicaid, which is a means-tested government program to help pay for long-term care. So we often use this type of trust for clients that are concerned about long-term care costs. And right now, nursing homes can cost anywhere from $9,000 to $10,000 a month. So super expensive. And without planning for that, those costs can just quickly eat up anything that you've saved during your life. With proper planning, though, at least 5 years in advance, an irrevocable trust can help to shield those assets, pass them on to your family, and also allow you to qualify for Medicaid. But you got to do it in advance before you need it, 5 years. So if you've made it this far in the video, I have a quick question for you. Are you planning to create a trust in the next 12 months? If so, then drop a yes in the comments below, because we'd love to know where you are in your process, and your answer helps us to create content that's more valuable, more helpful to you. Okay, now let's talk about another type of trust that is incredibly important for people who need it, and it's what's called a special needs trust or supplemental needs trust. If you have a child, a sibling, or relative who's got a disability and receives some sort of government benefits, this type of trust is a must. If you leave money to someone who is on government benefits and who is a special needs loved one, if you leave that money to them outright or in a traditional will or a trust, that might disqualify them for these essential benefits like Medicaid or SSI. And oftentimes Medicaid might be the only health insurance that's available to a special needs individual. So leaving them an inheritance in your traditional will or trust could be a real problem, and that's where a special needs trust comes in. A special needs trust allows you to support your loved one without jeopardizing their eligibility for government benefits. So the trust owns the assets, not the individual, and the benefits remain intact, so it won't impact Medicaid or SSI, and that allows you to leave a trust as a backup for your special needs loved one, and it can pay for housing, it can pay for education, therapy, hobbies, travel, and it still will allow them to receive the assistance they need from government benefits. And we've set these up for countless families. It's frankly one of the most loving and impactful moves you can make for someone who's depending on lifelong care. Now, let's talk about life insurance for a moment. I know, not a very interesting topic. Most people think that not something I want to talk about. But let's take just a minute and dive into life insurance and a type of trust that can help with life insurance. So most people think that life insurance proceeds are automatically tax-free, and that's true to a point. But if your life insurance payout pushes your estate's total value over the federal exemption limit, which is with the passage of the OBB, is now set at $15 million and it's indexed to inflation. For a married couple, it's $30 million. If your life insurance policy pushes your estate value over that exemption limit, then the money could be subject to estate taxes. And that's where another type of trust called an irrevocable life insurance trust comes in. We use the shorthand term ILIT, I-L-I-T, irrevocable life insurance trust, to talk about these trusts. And what the purpose of this trust is to hold that life insurance policy, and the way it's structured, the death benefit is no longer a part of your taxable estate. So that could save your heirs hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even more. Plus, the way that the trust is structured gives you some control over how the money's used. So it's not just dumped out to your beneficiaries, but you can put some, provisions around that as to how you want it to be used, staggered payments, or maybe it's just income, or maybe it's income and principal for certain things. However you want to set that up. That's especially beneficial if you have minor children or you want to stagger payments over time. So, as I was saying, just because it's life insurance doesn't mean that it avoids the estate tax. But an ILIT, an irrevocable life insurance trust, quickly, easily, elegantly solves that problem. So, last on our list today is something called the Charitable Remainder Trust. If you're philanthropic, if you want to leave money to charity, this trust lets you support causes that you care about and benefit your finances while you're alive. So here's how it works. You place an asset like stocks, real estate, cash into the Charitable Remainder Trust. Estate planning attorneys call them CRTs. The trust, it pays you an income for life or for a set number of years, and then when the term ends, the remainder goes to a charity that you choose. So the benefit to this is you get an immediate income tax deduction, you get a reduction in estate taxes, and you generate income. So it's a win-win-win. We recently helped a couple set this up after selling some rental property. It helped them to avoid capital gains tax. It created income for retirement, and it funded their local nonprofit. That's pretty powerful planning that you can get with a Charitable Remainder Trust. Now, if you're still wondering which of these trusts is right for your situation, you can go to our resources page. There's a link in the description below. There's ways you can contact us there. There are guides that you can download that will help you to understand where you are in your estate planning and what you might need to do to get things set up the way that you want. So just click the link in the description below. It'll take you to our resources page. Lots of free stuff there. And if you want to set up a consultation with my team, you can do it through that page. So let's recap. We talked about 5 kinds of trust today and how they might help you. The first one's a revocable living trust. It offers privacy and control, and it lets you get things done a lot quicker when someone passes away. Irrevocable trust, protect assets, reduce taxes. Special needs trust, secure benefits for loved ones with special needs. ILITs, irrevocable life insurance trusts, protect life insurance proceeds from estate tax. And last, charitable remainder trust, let you give back while benefiting during your lifetime. If this helped clarify for you the different types of trust that are out there and what might benefit you and your estate, you're definitely going to want to check out some more of our videos. We post up about 1 video a week with lots and lots of information about different estate planning topics.